Good morning. Now you can hear me. I'm Mary Winters. I'm a gerontologist, the owner of About Senior Solutions, and you are watching Visionary Aging. I want you to know what incredible power you have to age successfully and to do exactly what you want to do, no matter what age you are. We plan weddings and we plan retirements and parties and all kinds of things. I want you to be able to plan your vision of aging. Today we have a great show. We have cannabis nurse and expert, Sue Feldmeth, and we're going to talk about how there are some benefits to cannabis use with seniors, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And Steve McCullough has a caregiver question for us, and we also are going to talk about some pain relief and feeling better with Melinda Hughes. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce our little senior today for her 100th birthday. They didn't really say a whole lot about her, but she is from we come back here and talk about, you know what, we also have, let me just go ahead and get, we'll get Steve's little video up here first. Good morning. Let me get Steve back up for us. There's Steve. Steve, where are you? There we go. Oh, he's coming. He's coming. He's here. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Do you know what day it is today?
It's Friday.
It's Friday, but
It's National Everything Pizza. Yes. Which one do you have?
National Happy Hour Day.
I did not see that.
And if you want the perk, just let us know. We will send this to you. It's fun. We have great little questions and all kinds of interesting things in history today. And we have a great little word search as well. So we'll get that up to you for free if you're interested. So just let us know.
It's National French Dip Sandwich Day.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a biggie.
And National All-You-Can-Eat Pizza Without Anchovies Day.
Oh, just can't have anchovies. That's interesting.
Yes. Melinda probably will not approve of it. I don't think Melinda's going to approve of these days, but they are the days.
Oh, well, they are what they are. And actually, let's see. Tomorrow, actually, is World Kindness Day. I thought that would be a good one to actually bring up. World Kindness Day. So let me see. What does that mean exactly? So I would say that that's probably reaching out to somebody and just doing a kind gesture. Paying it forward, right?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So what's our caregiver question today?
So our caregiver question comes from a gentleman. He has some aches and pains in his knees, his joints. Nothing that they could do like a surgery on or anything. So he just kind of has to tolerate it. And he's wondering what benefits, if anything, he might receive from cannabis.
Oh, okay. Well, we have Sue Feldmeth on, and I'm going to let her talk a little bit about that. Pain is a really, really challenging thing, and we are learning more and more about the fact that narcotics are not always the answer. And depending on what your situation is, it could be a strain, it could be bone on bone, it could be something in your spine hitting a nerve, and pain is not a fun thing to deal with at all, but it certainly is worth a look at trying a variety of things, whether it's therapies or different types of medications or options, foods. So we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about that. And I think we're just going to make this our pain session today. Our
Pain management.
There you go. Our pain management show. And I think Melinda will have some insights for us as well, because I know she works with quite a few people who have had some pretty serious injuries in the strength shop. So we'll talk with her too. So let's go ahead and we'll bring. Oh, you know what? I want to talk with some. Oh, you know what? We'll talk a little bit too. Who do you think's older, the Queen Elizabeth, or Betty White?
Betty White.
We'll see. Let me go ahead and I'm going to bring on Sue. And
right. You have a great show.
Thank you. Hi, Sue. How are you?
Hi, Mary. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's great. So you have created a real interesting specialty in serving our seniors with cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
So give me like maybe 3 tips or 3 benefits of using cannabis for a senior. Or maybe
Well,
a senior.
Yeah. One of them are the ones you already mentioned is pain. Pain is one of the top reasons people seek cannabis medicine. And it's the reason I got into it. I had kind of the opposite view of cannabis growing up my whole life. It wasn't something that was part of my life. But I learned about it to help my mom with her arthritis pain. And the gentleman who had the joint pain question, cannabis can work in a couple different ways. And when we talk about cannabis, that's an umbrella term for the plant species. There's hemp, which is a form of cannabis, and there's what we think of as marijuana, which is cannabis as well. And there's lots of varieties. And cannabis taken internally, and usually we're talking with seniors CBD, which stands for cannabidiol. That's one of the ingredients in the cannabis plant, and that's very anti-inflammatory. So a lot of times joint pain or a strain or something is an inflammatory process that's happening in the body. And so the CBD can help kind of quiet down that inflammation. So it helps pain that way. It can also help the pain sensation, the transmission of pain, and using it topically, which many seniors do. They get a lotion or a salve to rub on their joints. Topically, you can attack the pain from 2 different angles that way.
Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. I think you've also mentioned that it affects the endocrine system, because you schooled me a little bit on it. I am a new believer of the benefits for seniors or in general for anyone, even
pets. Right. And it's actually the endocannabinoid system, which is a new system that most people aren't familiar with that term. And surprisingly, many doctors are not familiar, and medical people are not familiar with that term, because our endocannabinoid system was just discovered, it was always there, but identified in the 1990s. So fairly recent, considering it's a, fully functioning system of receptors in our bodies, in all mammals. So that's why we hear about dogs and CBD as well, to help them with their arthritic pain, because it really has wide spread benefits. And pain is just one of them.
Oh, for sure. How about something that's very common with someone with dementia, sundowning, or a lot of anxiety, just because of the challenges that somebody may be dealing with dementia?
Right.
What do you see with that?
Well, we're actually seeing some good results with people with anxiety, particularly with dementia, Alzheimer's, Lewy body dementia. And I had this experience with my mom as well. I was giving her the CBD, and she actually got a little bit of THC as well for her pain. And what we noticed after a few months was she was not nearly as anxious as she had been before we had started it. And so we do use it for seniors with dementia, and they find that compared to the alternative that they would get otherwise, Xanax, Ativan, Seroquel, which can knock them out.
Yeah.
And then they can't really participate in their activities very well. CBD just takes the edge off of their anxiety, and but they're still them. They can still participate. They're just not, ruminating with those same anxious thoughts. And it's amazing. It's pretty small doses. A lot of times in the literature, the doctors will say, CBD doesn't work by itself. You need THC to activate it. We're not seeing that. And I mean, CBD at pretty low doses is very tolerable by everybody. Even at higher doses is tolerable, but if you don't need the higher doses, why go there?
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
Less is more.
Right.
So I think your mom, when you started using it with her, she was in so much pain and she was on a lot of like maybe narco or
Yeah.
other medication such as that. Tell me a little bit more where she's at now in regards to the amount of painkillers that she's taking.
Well, and my mom has been my classroom, basically, my prime guinea pig. She was 88 years old when I started, in a lot of pain, on Norco, 3 or 4 pills a day, and just miserable. Her pain wasn't being addressed. She was constipated. She was just
Yeah.
very unhappy and talked about wanting to die several times a day. And so we cautiously started her on some CBD because I was still learning about it. And pretty quickly, over a couple weeks, got her down to 2 Norco, then 1 Norco a day. Now she's 93. Her dementia has progressed, and she's fallen and broken her leg. So she's not walking like she used to. But she's on no pain medicine now. She gets CBD occasionally. And this is something else I wanted to mention, that the beauty, I think, of cannabis medicine is it's really personalized to the person and what's going on in their body at that time. There was a period when my mom was needing 100 milligrams of CBD twice a day, in the morning and in the afternoon, and then 15 milligrams of THC. THC is the ingredient in cannabis that gets a person high.
Sure.
And if you use just a little bit of it, it doesn't make you high. It's like alcohol. If you drink a thimble full of wine, you're not going to feel intoxicated. But if you drink a half a bottle of wine, you will. So it's a dose relationship there. And so she was going from 200 milligrams of CBD a day to now she gets maybe 15 milligrams occasionally when she needs it for pain. This has been a 5-year process, but we started seeing results pretty quickly. And we also changed her diet as well, which I think Melinda's the expert in that. But we tried to put her on a more anti-inflammatory diet, removing some of the inflammatory type foods that I thought were exacerbating her condition. And I think the cannabis played a key role, and the fact that we could give her less when she needed less. And now she just gets it as needed. So she's pretty happy. She doesn't always remember who I am, but she watches, TV with the caregivers and smiles. And I would say her quality of life is as good as it can be.
Sure.
And 5 years ago, I'd say her quality of life was horrible.
Wow. Yeah. So that you definitely changed her vision of aging to a much more positive outlook, which is fantastic, Sue. And I think just as a daughter, just looking for a solution for somebody that you love. And I just have to commend you for reaching across and saying, this is kind of something that's kind of weird and scary, especially when everything was first becoming legalized in California. But what an amazing outlook, what amazing results. And I thank you for the clients that you've worked with me. And I know they've had some great benefit from that as well. So it's a really interesting field.
And it's emerging. It's always changing. And I find it fascinating. And just the science of it is so exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you're also starting a small research study as well. So you'll be able to hopefully share some outcomes from that too.
Yeah. We're trying to capture the data that we're seeing. So it's not a research study in that half a group gets CBD and half of a group gets placebo. It's the group that we started on CBD to manage their hallucinations, anxiety, agitation, and we want to document the results of how they were before and how they were after, because a lot of people in the medical community don't see the evidence in the medical literature that CBD alone is very helpful for this kind of issue, or that CBD at low doses. They know CBD at high doses is beneficial for seizures.
Yes.
And there's a pharmaceutical on the market in this country called Epidiolex that's used for that. But they don't see the scientific evidence in the research trials for low doses for this, for dementia and for anxiety. And so we're just trying to capture some of that in a comprehensive way to enlighten them.
Right, and to learn more too, which is fantastic.
Right.
So Lewy body is a form of dementia. Many of you may or may not have heard of what Lewy body disease is. It is a form of dementia, like Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, but people often have hallucinations with Lewy body disease. It's actually a pretty common form of dementia, but people are not as familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
Share a little bit about how that has benefited some of the clients that you're working with Lewy body disease.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say too that if you go on to traditional medication that somebody would take with Alzheimer's, it gets worse when somebody has Lewy body. And sometimes that's how we figure out they have Lewy body versus a different form of dementia, because the medication reacts so poorly with them, the traditional Alzheimer's medication. Tell me a little bit about how cannabis has affected somebody.
Well, we've only got a couple of clients who have Lewy body that we've been using it for, but the caregivers have noticed, because these hallucinations are as real as our reality is to us, and it's frightening, and they get anxious, and it kind of spirals them out of control sometimes. So how CBD has been helping, and what the whole purpose of our endocannabinoid system is to regulate our biochemicals, our neurotransmitters. If they're overfiring, it kind of sends the signal, that's enough, that you don't have to fire so much. And it helps calm them down. It's to restore homeostasis is the purpose of our endocannabinoid system. So it seems that with Lewy body, it doesn't eliminate all their hallucinations. We haven't done that, but they do seem to be, their outbursts and their anxiety seems to be shortened, lessened. It doesn't go on for the rest of the day, and they tend to be sleeping a little bit better. And sometimes I think sleep is so undervalued. Sometimes when you can improve the sleep, other things just improve.
Exactly.
So they're just, we have seen a shift in their behaviors, fewer bouts of yelling and aggression, but we really want to study them longer to get a quantitative, number of it. It decreased by 50%, 30%, these anxious behaviors. We don't have that data yet, but it's promising. I mean, it's not making it worse. It's not making them comatose so they can't participate in life. So we're encouraged so far.
It's fantastic.
Because there's not a lot of tools for them.
No, there really isn't. So Sue, again, what are the 3 benefits that you have seen with the use of cannabis with seniors?
I'd say for pain, as an anti-inflammatory or any other inflammatory condition, as an anti-anxiety, and that's not just for seniors, that's for people of all the age groups, especially during the times we're living now. And the fact that it's a personalized medicine that you can take as much or as little as you need, and when you need it. You can either take it every day or you can take it as needed. So the fact that it's such a individualized process and substance that you're taking,
Sure.
I think empowers people to make their own adjustments with it, depending on what they feel in their body.
Nice. How would somebody get a hold of you if they wanted to consult with you?
I have a website, mc4health.com. You can find me on the website, and I don't know if you have a chat that you can put my phone number or email. My email address is Sue Feldmeth, rn@gmail.com. So anyone can just shoot me an email or a call, and we can discuss further.
Hopefully I spell that right. But people know to get a hold of us at the office too.
Right.
So, sounds fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're working in this area of support for our seniors. And come back and tell us a little bit more about how things are working with the research you're doing.
Thank you. I'd be happy to come back. Thanks for having me, Mary.
Thanks. Thank you. Oh my gosh, what great work. She is so inspirational. And I remember meeting her, and she's like, it just really was kind of a freak out to consider something like cannabis use in older adults. But she did her homework, and I think seniors are benefiting significantly because of that. So I'd like to get some insights from our friend Melinda. So let's go ahead and we'll get Melinda on.
Hello. I think Mary's going to jump on with me here in a minute.
Actually, I'll be here with you. Hey, how are you?
Yay! I'm good. How are you? Good morning.
Great, thanks. Yeah, interesting topic, right?
Oh my God, I love it. I'm so excited that she came on, that Sue came on and spoke about this. I'm a huge, huge fan of CBD. I don't know if you've seen, but there's a little table in the Strike Shop that has CBD muscle balm.
Oh, no, I
And
haven't noticed that.
it's a big hit. So next time you're in for your workout, if you have any aches or pains, you rub a little bit of that balm on before the workout. By the end of the workout, it's totally resolved.
Nice. Oh, wow.
Our clients love it. So it's, and it's not something that I expected. I was actually, a friend of mine makes that balm that we have in the studio. And I was very hesitant to have the little samples there because I thought people would think like, oh, it's marijuana.
Yeah, nobody's smoking.
No. But it really does work. We've used it for our dogs. We've used it ourselves, like my husband and I. It's, and what I love about CBD is that like Sue touched on, all pain is inflammation. All pain is a result of the inflammatory response of the body. And so, when you think about other pain relievers like ibuprofen or aspirin or even Norcos, things that are prescribed like traditional pharmaceuticals, those things have not only short-term side effects like the immediate side effects, but also long-term side effects, especially with the lining of the stomach. And CBD doesn't seem to have those things, which is really, really wonderful because you can get the same anti-inflammatory effect without those side effects and without the long-term damage that some of the pharmaceutical use does to the body. So I'm just like a huge, huge fan and really grateful that people like Sue are doing research about this so that we can learn more and really understand fully how we can use CBD in the future.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit more about inflammation and what kinds of things nutritionally we can do to support pain or get away from pain.
Yeah, pain is inflammation, and it can be counterintuitive, but when working with clients who are experiencing pain, I like to try to get them to reframe pain in their mind because pain is something we don't want. We get a little bit angry. Sometimes we get angry at our bodies because we're in pain. And really, I like to try to get people to see pain as the messenger. It's your body saying, knock, knock, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And this is just your warning because we need to fix this.
Right.
And so if we can look at pain in that way and kind of, put our detective hats on and really look like, okay, what is the source of this inflammation that's causing pain in the body? Sometimes we can eliminate it. And, at the Strength Shop, we have, we've helped people completely eliminate pain that was due to weak muscles, and a lot of back pain, a lot of knee pain, even in the joints, the hip joints. A lot of pain is due to weak muscles. So just strengthening the muscles that support the body, that support the skeleton, that support the joints, eliminates that type of pain, which is caused by the inflammation of the body not being properly supported. There's also, as you were talking, and as Sue touched on a little bit, and as you were asking a minute ago, inflammation caused by the things that we eat. And if anyone has gone on a cleanse, right, a short cleanse,
Sure.
Cleanses reduce the amount of inflammation in your body because you're eating or you're limiting your diet to anti-inflammatory foods. And what that does is it drops weight off, right? And so people see the scale drop down, and then when they start eating normal foods again, the scale will rise up because the loss of weight from the cleanse was not body fat, but it was the inflammation in the body. And the reason,
wow, I didn't realize that.
yeah, the reason that I point that out is because everything we eat causes an inflammatory response. I mean, there's foods like foods on a cleanse that are very cleansing, that are anti-inflammatory foods, but the vast majority of our diet causes an inflammatory response. And some of those responses are more significant than others. So there are foods that and they're different for everyone. That's the fun puzzle of inflammation when it comes to what we're eating.
Right.
Is figuring out what causes inflammation in your body. And there are tests. There's the KBMO diagnostics test that we use at the Strength Shop to kind of give us a cheat sheet of what could be causing inflammation in the body. And sometimes the things that come up on that test are very surprising. One of the things that came up on my test twice, I've taken the twice under two different names, my maiden name and my married name. It's my little double-blind study. But both times spinach came up, and you would think spinach is healthy, but it causes an inflammatory response in my body. So a lot of times, and I loved how Sue pointed that out, is with her mother, being on Norcos. I think she said that her mother had been up to 3 or 4 Norcos a day, and then they, used the cannabis to manage the pain, and then restructured her diet and took a look at her diet. I mean, that's a big component of pain for a lot of people. It's just identifying what foods are causing the inflammatory response in your body. It might be different from even your brother, your sister, your mother, your father. It's a very, very specific personal thing.
And I think it can change over time too. If I eat the same thing over and over, I think I have a buildup of certain things, and it may create an issue, and just kind of, pull away from that and come back later, or maybe not. But I think when we have a lot of routine in our food too, sometimes that can come back and haunt us a little bit. Even if we're eating good things like spinach. So
I think you touched on a very important thing, that variety is so important in diet. And I do think that a lot of food sensitivities are just the foods that cause a lot of inflammation in your body, and that causes the reaction. Those foods are typically things that we're eating too much of, and that we've been eating too much of for a very long time. So getting variety in the diet is something that we can do at any age that will reduce the likelihood that we'll develop food sensitivities to something.
Right. We have a question. Suzette asks, are there any contraindications with CBD? I'm not aware of any.
Yeah, from what I understand, there is not. Your body just doesn't. The cannabinoid sensors just don't. It just goes out of your body. Not that I know of. Nothing has been identified as some.
I'm sure as more research takes place too, we will find something. But right now, there's nothing that's been discovered. THC is different though.
Right. THC is the THC in the plant is the component of the plant that impairs. So that's what, if you're using THC, and you can use THC for pain and anxiety, but if you're using that component, you're not supposed to drive, and it's the same as drinking a couple of glasses of wine. There's an impairment there, but the CBD, there's no impairment. And to answer Suzette's question, I've not run into anything where there's someone who CBD is not appropriate for. In fact, I've used CBD for my eczema. Eczema is a inflammatory response. And so rubbing CBD topically soothes eczeema. So there's just the uses for CBD, especially topically with skin issues. Those are signs of inflammation. So
Sure.
it's just, there's so many uses, and in my limited experience with it, there hasn't been anybody that couldn't use it. And it doesn't interact with, to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't interact with other pharmaceuticals, which is a nice thing.
Yeah, that would be a great question actually for Sue to answer.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
But yeah, I actually use that on my mosquito bites, especially in the summertime, because they are so horrible, and it actually stops that like zinging pain, that itching, and that inflammation from a mosquito bite too. So
Yeah.
Other questions too. People are saying, "Oh, that's very helpful information. It's really interesting." So let me go ahead. I'm going to take my glasses off too because the lights are hitting me. But I'm going to go ahead and bring Steve back on. He's around, and see if he knows the answer to our Betty White and the Queen question.
Hello.
Wow. I don't know why our names are up so high this time. Maybe I'll take your name off right now just because it's blocking your face. But so what do you think? Do you think it's the Queen, or do you think it's Betty White who will be 100?
I think it's Betty White.
What do you
I think
think?
it's close, but I think it's Betty White. Don't let me down, Betty.
I don't know.
Who is
It's going to be Betty. Betty's going to be 100 in January. And let's see, Elizabeth, she will be 100. Let's see, when will she be? In April. So, yep. And there's still a big, huge Betty White stuff going on. People still want to bubble wrap her, preserve her, make sure that she's safe for her January birthday. But in addition to that, there's a company who's paying somebody who's willing to binge her shows for 10 hours the day of her birthday and then do some kind of social media stuff. $1,000. You might be able to win $1,000 to binge Betty White.
I would totally do that. I love the Golden Girls. That would be my 10 hours right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, for sure. So I you know what? I think I'm even going to bring Sue back to say goodbye with us, and we could just chat really quickly about just a quick weekend.
Maybe we can ask her if there's any contraindications of using CBD.
Yeah.
That's a great question, and it's a good thing to think about. At really low doses, which is what we start people on, there isn't, but the liver metabolizes CBD just like it does other pharmaceuticals. So there can be at high doses, if you just don't have the enough liver enzymes to break everything down. Sometimes it can make other medications. You could have higher levels or lower levels of your other medications. One way around that is to just take them at different times, not take them all at the same time. Generally, when you look at the literature, it's not that clear because it talks about contraindications with medical cannabis. And it's such an umbrella term. It's not just talking about CBD. It's like saying eat food, and it doesn't tell you what kind of food. It doesn't say fruits and vegetables. So it's not that helpful sometimes to look at the literature, but I haven't really seen any issues. Sometimes diabetics, it can alter their blood sugar a little bit, so they might have to adjust their insulin. Or if you're on a blood thinner like Coumadin or warfarin, you might have to adjust that. But they don't see that until you're like 50 milligrams of CBD or greater, or in the hundreds. So most people can use it without worry, and very few side effects.
Sue, have you
your dog's
noticed?
in the background, Melinda.
Yeah, she's.
Oh, she's so cute.
Sue, have you noticed when people have to adjust their insulin for the diabetes, is it usually lowering the amount of insulin or increasing, or is there not really a clear
It's
trend?
usually lowering because, and I had one diabetic who was really comfortable managing her insulin. And what our endocannabinoid system does is to maintain homeostasis in our body. So too high of a blood sugar is something that's out of whack. And so it tries to kind of rebalance that and bring it back down. So it's usually lowering blood sugar. I've seen it lower blood pressure a little bit in people who have high blood pressure, not so much in people who have a normal blood pressure. And, you know, they just need to test their blood sugars and give themselves the appropriate amount of insulin to what their current blood sugar is. But just an awareness that that could happen. I wasn't aware that it lowered blood pressure, and it's more THC than CBD that lowers blood pressure, until my mom was getting lightheaded, and we were giving her blood pressure medicine that she had taken for the last 20 years. And we started checking her blood pressure before her blood pressure medicine, and her blood pressure was always normal. So we talked to her doctor about telling her, I don't think she needs it anymore.
That's fantastic.
I'd love to see studies in the future. I hope that more literature comes out. It would be interesting to see if CBD or cannabis and THC makes the cells more insulin sensitive, or how the mechanism that, you know, could decrease the amount of insulin needed for a diabetic condition, how that even works. But
Right.
Lots of possibilities for sure.
Yes, lots of research to be had. I am so impressed. Thank you so much, everybody, for being on. I think this is a great segment, great show today. And please make sure that if you'd like a perk, to reach out to us. But it is National
Happy Hour.
Happy Hour. So I think reach out to a friend. You can be kind and have a nice happy hour today. Maybe you can find the two together. So thank you so much, and we're off. So here we go.